You know how we're always telling you to watch until the end? Well, listen to me now and believe me later. You're gonna wanna watch this to the end. I'm gonna show you how to make this simple design. I'm gonna show you how to make this design and turn it into an epic embossed sweater. Along the way, I'm gonna share tips and tricks, and I'm gonna walk you through the whole process from A to Z. So stick around, you're not gonna wanna miss this. There are 2 steps to this design. The first one is going to stitch the foam onto the backing. We're gonna cut that foam out just as we would in applique, and then we're going to apply the shirt on top of it, and then the second stitch is just gonna tack everything down, and then we're all done. For you to get the optimal effect, I recommend you use Pellon Flex Foam number 76, or you can use regular hat foam. However, the hat foam is gonna be a little bit thicker and harder, whereas the Flex Foam is gonna be a little bit softer on your body. It launders better, you can iron it, it's heat resistant, and it should last a little bit longer. All right guys, I'm gonna show you just how easy this is. You can use Inspire, Luxe, or Plus. Either one, it doesn't matter, because the only thing we're going to be using is the run stitch. We're going to start with text. If you don't have the higher versions that include the text, you can always draw it in yourself. In this case, I'm going to be using the Princeton text. You can click here and you'll find all the different fonts. You can find the one that you want. If there is not one that you want, you can always just make it yourself and draw it and just import it as a back image. So I'm going to pick the Princeton image. There we go. I'm going to type in Miami. I'm also going to make that into a circle and click apply. So there's my Miami. I want these letters to be approximately 12 inches in width for the chest. So once I go to the transform tab, we're gonna change that to 12 inches and hit apply. Right there. I'm going to put this next part, which is the Florida. So I'm gonna go back to text, click right here, actually just there. And here I'm just going to put capital FL, just like that. Now I want that to be straight. I don't want it to be too big. So once I go to the selector tool, I can just make that just a little bit bigger. There we go. I'm going to select both of them and use my line up tool to line them up horizontally. Perfect. Now notice how the Miami is a little crooked. So let me select the Miami portion, and I'm just going to use my rotating dial right there to just get them to rotate a little bit. So now this is the same distance as here, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to hit the command or control key, select everything and realign it. There we go. So now we're almost done. Select everything and I'm going to group it into one. I'm also going to change the color to a light color so that we can see through it. Now I'm going to go to my run stitch, make it black, left click, make it black, and now it's just a matter of clicking on all the corners. I'm going to start with the A. If you choose to zoom in, all right, let's zoom in so we can get the letters in there. You can see through the letter, and here you can see the underlay stitch, the zigzag and the running stitch that goes underneath it. So I'm just going to follow that stitch. So I'm going to start with this A first, the middle of the A, and once I'm done, I'm going to hit the C. It's going to connect it. Then I'm going to move over to the next part of the letter, and again I'm just hitting all the little corners of that underlay stitch. This is super fast, and this is going to set up our outline for the letters, and this is all I have to do. Hit the C and I'm all done. I'm gonna hit my selector tool, and here you notice how there's a jump. I want to take that out. There you go. I just want to select that part, and I'm gonna add a trim to that. I don't want it to be to jump. There we go. So now we're going to move over to the next letter. Let's zoom out just a little bit, and I'm working from the inside out. So now we're going to go to the run stitch again, select your run stitch, and again we're just hitting corners. Follow the lines of your underlay, and this is it. So I'm just going to do this for all the letters. Okay, we're all done. So again, like I said, if you ever want to change these, I am going to put a jump stitch between this letter and that one, or a trim, not a jump stitch. I'm gonna trim it so that it doesn't do that. Perfect. And because I separated the letters so much, they're not gonna jump to each other, so that's a great way to do it. I'm gonna go to my group that I already did for the letters and just delete this. Okay, so now this is all deleted. All you can see is the outline, which is the run stitch. Remember, I did say that you can fix the lines if you need to just kind of correct them. You see how these are kind of crooked? We can go to our shape tool, and then here we can just kind of fix the little lines if you wanted to straighten them out and stuff like that. So that's one way to do it if you weren't happy with it. All right, now here's the cool part. I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna select all of it. I'm gonna go to my selector tool, select everything, and create a group. I'm going to right click, copy, right click, and paste. So now I have two different groups. So while this one is one group, I'm going to right click on it and group that one. And then I'm going to take this one, hit the shift and select all of them, right click, and also group that one. So now I have two separate groups. This group, I'm going to make it red so that you can tell the difference between one and the other. Now, if we look at the properties, notice how they're both 566 stitches. The first group, I want that to be a dense, tight stitch so that it cuts the foam, and the top stitch is going to be really loose so that it's almost invisible. So for the first group, I'm going to pick the first group. I'm going to go to my stitch and actually convert that into a bean stitch, a triple bean stitch with 2mm stitch length. So I'm going to hit apply. So now that went from 500 to 2,450. That's going to help me cut the foam, cut the flex foam, so that we can, so it secures it really well. And then on top of that, we're going to do just a run stitch. It's going to take 5 minutes only, and that will just lay down the stitching to secure the backing to the garment, and you're done. So now once we play that back, you notice how the first part, the first color change, is going to be really long, and the second is nice and short. So for the first part, it's going to do this bean stitch. It's going to have a lot of stitches to help you cut the foam. It's going to go through the whole thing. And with your machine on automatic manual, it's going to stop at this point right here. Boom. So at this point, you would have pulled it out, cut your foam or cut your flex foam, put it back in the machine, put your sweater over it, hit start, and then it's going to actually tack the sweater back onto the backing. And that's it, folks. Just as easy as that. We've digitized the image. We've placed it on the machine. We're going to select the image, select the color, put the brackets so we can get the machine set up, ready for embroidering. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my design. I'm going to go design. I have put it in my folder. There it is right there. And I'm going to hit select. There it is. Now this is the incorrect hoop, so I'm going to select hoop, and we're using the 19 by 13 hoop. Yes. For this design, I'm going to invert the image. I'm going to go from here and flip it this way because we're going to be embroidering it with the belly of the shirt going in and the neck sticking out. It's going to make it a lot easier to hoop it that way. Because remember, we're doing this applique style, but it's kind of like a reverse upside down applique. So instead of from the top, we're doing it from the bottom. To flip the design by going to design settings, and we're going to go rotate and just turn it upside down this way and click OK. So now it's going to hoop just upside down. Now that I have my design set, I'm going to, the hoop is also selected. Now we're going to select our color. So for the color, I'm going to be using needle 1, and I'm going to change it to this thread. Save this. We're going to go to select needle, and we're going to move it to needle 1 just so that I can see. And here I'm going to show you how to change your thread. It's super easy, and remember, we're doing embroidery. We're going to have to do this a lot. So this is the easiest way to do it. Take your thread. You're going to tie it off so that it doesn't get loose. I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to take my new spool, put it in its place. I'm going to find the ends, and doing that magic knot that I showed you guys, and I'll show it again. Here's the knot, super fast. Done. So now that I have the knot tied, I'm going to come over here, unthread my needle, and just pull it through. Beautiful. That's it. I have the head moving aside. I'm going to put my brackets. Now, something that I like to do when I'm using the extreme ends, instead of trying to fight the machine and getting my hand into these tight spaces, I'm going to move the head over or move the pantograph to the extreme right, and this way it's going to make it a lot easier where I can secure my bracket onto the pantograph. Now I'm going to move it to the extreme left and do the same thing. So now it's just a simple part of hooping the material, the backing, putting it in and doing our first step. Traditionally, when doing applique, you want to do a placement stitch first, then put your applique on top of it, do the tack down stitch, cut it. But I'm going to bypass that by doing a placement drawing line with my marker. I'm going to show you how to do that. But first, let's lock it. And we're going to go to color select and switch it to automatic manual and save. Now we can run our regular trace. The regular trace is like drawing a box around the design. It's just going to give you an overall placement. Once we do the design trace, it's going to trace exactly the border of the design, and that's going to let me know where to put my foam. But remember, I'm going to use my pen to draw that outline so that I don't have to do the placement stitch. After the initial trace, I know that my design is very safe within the hoop. Now, for the design trace using the marker. I just saved you 15 minutes on your embroidery by doing the marker tack down as opposed to physically doing the tack down. We're going to use our trusty applique scissors to cut around the details around the letters. The first stitch was a triple bean stitch, which really secures the foam to the backing. And this is the time to put your patience cap on and go slow and steady. It's really important to be mindful of how you keep the hoop flat on the surface so that you don't shift the hoop, the backing on the hoop. You could lose registration if you're not careful. So very carefully, cut it. Take your time. So I'm going to draw a placement line just so that I can get the very center of the design on the material itself. So I'm going to use this so that I know exactly where the center is. I'm also going to mark up the garment, but remember the sweater is going to come this way. The neck is going to be here, the arms are going to be over here, and the belly is going to go right here. So I'm going to enter it this way, the sewing arm is going to go here, so that way I can see what I'm doing. Now that we have meticulously cut out the foam from our alphabet, we're going to mark up our sweater so that we can get it placed just right. We're going to use our quilter square, a ruler, and a crayon pen. We're going to use the same principles of centering images on shirts and apply it to the sweater. Typically, images are 3 to 4.5 inches or 3 to 4 inches from the bottom of the collar. So in this case, we are going to go, let's go 4 inches. So from the base of the collar to here, that's going to be my 4-inch mark. So I'm just going to draw a little line across there. Okay, it doesn't have to be dark, just enough for you to see it. Also, this lets me know where the center of my collar is. So I know that this is my center line, so I'm going to mark it as my center. X marks the spot. Using the armpits as a reference point, this is going to help me keep the design level. Now, because this design is a circular design, it's a little bit forgiving, and you don't have to make it so perfect, but nevertheless, this is one way to do it. So using this as my guide, I'm going to drop the ruler down to let me see exactly. So this white line is going to tell me exactly where the center is and how high it is, and I'm using my little hatch marks on my quilter square to make sure I'm perfectly level. So right here, I'm 1/4 inch away from here, a 1/4 inch away from there. I'm perfectly level, so I'm going to draw my mark across the top. So I'm going to use this point of reference to let me know. The image is approximately 5 inches in width. So if I cut that in half, that's 2.5 inches. So I know the center of my image is going to be right here. So this is where the center of the image should be. That's not so important because I'm going to line it up to the line here, and I'm going to make sure that the top of the A fits right here. Once I have that, I think I should be great. We're going to carefully put our sweater belly first. Be mindful not to move the bracket arms, and also make sure that the bottom of it goes around and under the sewing arm so that you don't sew the jacket shut. So if I take a peek underneath, I could see my line is here. So I just need to shift the jacket over a smidgen. And now my lines match up just right. And I can see that my A is here. So this has to come up just a little bit more. So very slowly, carefully, I'm just gonna line it up. There it is, the A is right there, and I can feel the tip of the A, and my line is just right. To make sure that the jacket is level, I can use a ruler to measure from the edge of the frame to the white line, and right here I have 3 1/4, and from this side, it's not quite 3 1/4, it's a little bit more, so I'm a little bit tilted, so I'm just gonna shift it over just a little bit. We're still here on the white line, and I can see that the lines match. Let's do that again. Here we are at 3 1/2, 3 1/2, so we're good. We are in the center. I can see the A here. We're in the center. Now we're going to use some pins to secure the garment to the hoop, and we hit start. This is the moment of truth, what we've all been waiting for. The jacket is clear, the sewing arm is clear, we're not gonna bind it, it's not gonna pinch, we're not gonna make a pocket. So now it's just ready to go and hit start. That was really fast. The last part only took about 5 minutes, maybe even less than 5 minutes. Removing the pins, we're gonna remove the hoop. That's the bottom of the hoop. Perfect. Now we're gonna invert this. Now, one of the tricks that I do is I like to hold this up in the air while I cut the backing so that I don't cut the material. It kind of makes the material fall to the side, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do. And we're gonna get close, but not too close. We're gonna leave about a 1/4 inch border around it. And you can see the black bobbin made it look nice. I'm gonna leave about a 1/4 inch around the image. I don't wanna go too close. Now I will be cutting in between the letters just so that the image is just a little bit more fluid and not so like a big plaque on your chest. I'm using my finger underneath to make sure that the material is not getting caught in the scissors, or am I poking the material. So putting the scissors sideways, then spinning them, kind of lets me know that I'm safe. So when you look at it, it's nice and soft. It's not one big plaque. All the letters are individual, and they look like they just come out of the shirt. We used a single stitch on the outside so that it wouldn't be so strong and you wouldn't be able to notice the stitching so much. So almost like, just like the regular embossing on paper, this looks really natural. It's gonna look really nice.
All right, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure you like it and subscribe so you can stay up to date with our latest content. Also, if you have any comments or ideas that you'd like to see in future episodes, make sure to leave a comment below. I also encourage you to check out our most recent episode where I completed a 100 shirt bulk order. The link to the video will be in the description below. And if you haven't done so already, follow us on Instagram and TikTok for informative and entertaining content. Check us out on Facebook and join our embroidery and printing business help group. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.